Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rama Rama Mahabaho. Krishna Dushta Nibarhana. Ito vidure sumahad. Vanam talali sankulam. Rama Rama. O Rama. Mahabaho. O mighty armed one. Krishna. O Krishna, Dushta Nibarhana, O eliminator of the miscreants, Ita, from here, Avidure, not far, Sumahat, very expansive, Vanam, a forest, Tala Ali, with rows of palm trees, Sankulam, filled. The cowherd boy said, O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, destroyer of the miscreants, not far from here is a very great forest filled with rows of palm trees. Purport. As stated in the Sri Varaha Purana, Asti Govardhanam Nama Kshetram Paramadurlabam Mathura Paschime Bhage Adhurad Yojanadvayam. Not far from the western side of Mathura, at a distance of 2 yojanas, 16 miles, is the holy place named Govardhan, which is most difficult to attain. It is also stated in the Varaha Purana, Asti Talavanam Nama Dhenukasura Rakshitam Mathura Paschime Bhage Adhurad Eka Yojanam. Not far from the western side of Mathura, 1 yojana away, 8 miles, is the forest known as Talavan, which was guarded by Dhenukasura. Thus it appears that the Talavan forest is located midway between Mathura and Govardhan Hill. The forest of Talavan is described in the Sri Harivamsa as follows. Satudesha samasnigdha sumahan Krishna mirtika darba praya stuli bhuto lostrapasana varjitaha. The land there is even, smooth, and very expansive. The earth is black, densely covered with darba grass and devoid of stones and pebbles. Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nibarhana Ito Vidure Sumahad Banam Talali Sankulam. O Rama Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, destroyer of the miscreants, Not far from here is a very great forest filled with rows of palm trees. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagawatam, Canto 10, Chapter 15, entitled The Killing of Dhenuka, the Asti. Text 21. I'd like to welcome some special guests with us today. We have His Holiness Niranjan-Swami Maharaj. Very dear friends, Sharon Gannon is here. Could you stand up for a moment? She's a great lover of Krishna, and she's the founder of one of the most prominent, wonderful yoga centers in all of the world, Jiva Mukti. Our dear brother Yogeshwar Prabhu, Joshua Green, gives Gita classes there, and she's like a mother to me, like a goddess for so many. And her, no, stay up, please. And her nephew, Jules, please stand up, Jules. Wonderful soul. Please let us very enthusiastically welcome them to Radha Gopinath. And two of my dear friends, Zach Leary and Narayan. Can you both stand up, please? They're both from California. Narayanji has a place called Narayan Mandir, where he invites sadhus to give kirtans and lectures in the beautiful hills of Hollywood, California. And his wonderful friend who loves to serve. And Zach he's the son of one of the great icons of my generation, Timothy Leary, and he's a dear friend. He loves kirtan, he loves japa, he loves Krishna, he loves everyone actually. So let us very enthusiastically welcome them to Radha Gopinath. In this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes how Krishna entered into his Poganda Leela. From his appearance in this world to his 5th year is the Komar Leela. And from the 6th year to the 10th is his Poganda Leela. And it was when he was about between 5 and 6 years old that Krishna was entrusted the care of the cows. Previously, he took care of calves. There was, Jiva Goswami tells how there was a meeting because they asked Krishna, do you want to take care of the cows? And he said, no, I'm just an infant. I'm too small, I'm too young, and they're so big. How will I take care of them? So the Nanda Maharaj and Upananda, Abhinanda, Sunanda, Nanda, Nandana, they all met together in an assembly to discuss. And the Gopas were telling Nanda Maharaj that it's not we have seen what Krishna and Balaram have done, but whoever he shows his attraction to come completely under his control. So he loves the cows, so his love for them will control them. So there is no problem. But Krishna loved the cows and the cows loved Krishna. They were controlled by each other's love. That is Vrindavan. Vrindavan, nobody wants to be controller. Everyone wants to be controlled. Everyone wants to be under the control of others' love. That is opposite of this material world. Bhagavad Gita gives the example of a banyan tree on the banks of a lake. That the reflection of the banyan tree on a still lake looks just like a banyan tree. Except in the reflection, the roots are up and the branches are down. So similarly, this material existence is a reflection of the spiritual existence. But things are very opposite. In this world, people want to be the enjoyer. People want to be the controller. But in the spiritual world, people want to be enjoyed and controlled. Even Krishna. Krishna is conquered by the love of his devotees, and the devotees are conquered by Krishna's love. And in that interaction, everyone is conquered by each other's love. So on the day of Gopastami, the 8th day of the waxing moon in the month of Kartik, it happened to be a Wednesday that year, they had a beautiful ceremony. Because in the Vedic culture, there were so many celebrations. Any opportunity there would be celebrations to invoke auspiciousness. It's like we read about every year there would be a birthday for Krishna or Balaram, and they would stay home that day. And it's not that everyone came and gave them gifts. Krishna would give everyone gifts. He would be giving so many charities to brahmans and charities to gopas and charities to so many people. Because the idea in the Vedic culture is the real blessing comes spontaneously from the hearts of people who we serve nicely. To get something physical is not much of a gift, but they have the opportunity to serve, seva, and to serve with love. Because if you don't serve with love, you don't really please somebody's heart. The thing could please the mind a little and the senses a little. But if you give something with love, it pleases that person's heart. And when you please the person's heart, especially great saintly people, then Krishna is so pleased that you have pleased that devotee, that from the heart of that devotee, Krishna transmits the most precious, invaluable blessings. There's the saying, in giving we receive. The origin of that saying, in its purest and highest state, is seva, unconditional service. As soon as there is a desire to control, there is a desire to enjoy, there's any selfishness, it's not seva. It's service, but not seva. Seva means offered either with unconditional love, or if we're not on that platform, with the intent of unselfish, unconditional love. So on that day, they had brahmans chanting mantras, and they were doing yagyas, and they had kirtans and everything to inaugurate Krishna taking care of the cows. They had big feasts. It was wonderful. And then Krishna and Balaram with his gopas, the cowherd boys, they sent the cows, because usually when you herd cows from behind, yes? How many of you have ever herded cows? Please raise your hands very high. Anyways, usually you're behind them, but none of the cows would go. Krishna would go, Jai, Jai, like that. And the cows would just be looking at him with loving tears in their eyes. And then the gopas said that they're afraid that if they go ahead, you might not be right behind them. They can't stop looking at you. So better you go in front of them. So that was his attraction. So he would go in front. They had little sticks, but they would never hit the cows or the bulls with the sticks. It had the sticks to lean on when they were tired and all of that. And to play with. They played so many games with the sticks. And there's a very well-known story that on that first day, Yashoda, Krishna's mother, personally with her own hands made nice little shoes for Krishna and Balaram. Because after all, the calves, they were taking care of them, but cows go much farther away. So you're going to have to go long distances. It was barefoot all day. I made nice shoes for you. And Krishna told his mother that I am the servant of the cows. When I go out, I am going out of love to serve these cows. So how could I have something that they don't have? Unless you make shoes for every hoof of every cow, I will not accept shoes. And according to Padma Purana, Krishna had 900,000 cows in his herd. So what's 900,000 times 4? And Yashoda Mai, she couldn't possibly make that many shoes. So Krishna went barefoot. And as he went barefoot, the very ornament of the whole earth was every one of his footprints. And everyone in the Vrindavan forest were loving devotees. The peacocks, the parrots, the monkeys, the tigers, the deers, the boars, whoever was there, they all had a meeting and unanimously inspired one another that wherever there is a footprint of Krishna, that is a holy place of worship. And we should never step over it and never step on it. We will preserve it for as far as possible. So this was how they did. And Krishna took many, many footprints. And anyone who saw it, because when they would see his footprint, they would remember him. Tadit. Tadit means that which is connected to Krishna or to a great soul. Those things awaken the bhava of our affection. And therefore they are, in that sense, non-different. The paraphernalia or the property of a great soul is non-different than the great soul, because just by seeing it awakens our remembrance and we feel their presence. So on this particular day of today's verse, the gopas, the cowherd boys, they are expressing to Krishna and Balaram. They're addressing Balaram as having very long, strong arms, because he hasn't yet. This is going to be the first time where Balaram is going to reveal his strength. Krishna, he liberated Putana and Trinavarta and Bakasura and Batsasura. But they wanted to see Balaram reveal his strength. So they planned it out. They said, we are very hungry. And just close by there is a forest. It's just between Govardhan Hill and Mathura. It's called Talavan. And there are so many tal fruit trees. Very large. Very beautiful. It's such a wonderful, wonderful panoramic view, this forest. And just now, there are limitless, fresh, ripe, fragrant, sweet tal fruits blossoming on the trees. And there are so many, they are falling to the ground. And can't you smell it? The breeze is carrying the sweetness of these fruits to our nose, and we are becoming intoxicated. We want to enjoy these fruits so much. But this is the headquarters of Dhenuka. One of the very, very powerful assistants of Kamsa, who has assumed he's a mystic, who by his developing siddhis, yogic siddhis, he has such power, he could change his form. And he's taken the form of a gigantic form to his forest. He eats them alive. Whether it's a human, whether it's an animal, anybody. And he will not allow anybody to touch the fruits. There's so many. He can't eat more than, he doesn't even eat, he's not even vegetarian. He doesn't even eat the fruits himself. But he won't let anybody else eat them. This is the nature of envious people. Even if they can't enjoy something, they don't want anybody else to enjoy it. A saintly person is paradukha dukhi. Another's happiness is my happiness. Another's suffering is my suffering. But the opposite of that, if I can't enjoy something, no one should enjoy it. No one should be equal to or better than me. So this was his mentality. So they were telling Krishna, but these fruits are so nice. Can't you smell them? And there's so many. They're just all going to get rotten. So Krishna Balaram, please pacify our hunger by going to the forest and let's eat those fruits together. Because if you go with us, there's nothing that Dhenuka or anyone else can do to harm us. What's beautiful about this is they actually were not concerned with eating the fruits. The fruits were so nice. They were like the world's best fruits. They wanted Krishna to eat the fruits. But they knew, this was the psychology of bhakti, they knew if they said, Krishna, we want to get those fruits for you, Krishna would not have been so enthusiastic. Because Krishna is more concerned with his devotees' happiness. So they were pretending that they were so much eager for these fruits. Because they knew if we tell them we're hungry and we want the fruits, then Krishna will definitely get them. But actually, we just want them to eat them. But if we tell them that, we want them for you, then Krishna will say, oh, so many other things I can eat. So they were pretending to be hungry and actually, it wasn't just pretending, because in the spiritual world, whatever your desire is, it's when you desire, it's chintamani dham. Whatever desires we have is fulfilled. So they wanted to be hungry just so that Krishna would go to enjoy the fruits. So they actually became hungry. But they weren't hungry for themselves. They were hungry for Krishna. Does that make sense? It actually doesn't make sense. That's called achintya. If everything Krishna did made sense, what is the value of being the absolute truth? So achintya Shakti, his inconceivable potencies, and Sri Radha, his pleasure potency, is inconceivable love, and Sri Vrindavan Dham is where the inconceivable potency and the potent are having eternal pastimes together. So the ultimate potency of the Lord is His Leela with His devotees, and it is inconceivable. When you and me get hungry, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about me. I need food. Yes, I need water. Don't feel bad about it. It's natural. You don't get into some psychological, depression if you're hungry. Why is it I'm starving, I haven't eaten in days, and I'm thirsty, and why am I not thinking about the deities eating? You are what you are. But this is the spiritual world. And as you make spiritual advancement, it actually becomes like this, where the bhava, the sentiments of your soul, begin to manifest more and more. So the gopas are actually hungry. But they're not hungry for themselves. In their hunger, in the growling of their stomachs and the parchness of their mouth, they're just feeling, you want these fruits? Then we will go to get these fruits for you. Now, if they said, actually it's for you, that would have spoiled everything. But this is the exchange of love. And you may think, well, if Krishna is the absolute truth and He's the Paramatma in everyone's heart, then He knows that they're just saying this. Yes? He knows that they're only hungry for Him and they only want the fruits for Him, so why they're playing games with each other like this? He knows. But in His knowing, even makes the relationship deeper. He knows that they are only speaking for Him, for His pleasure, and they know that He's only speaking for His pleasure, and this is what activates all the pastimes of the spiritual world. Because Krishna knows, even if they're hungry to give me, it's going to make them happy if I eat it. So I will eat the fruits just to make them happy. Hari Hari. The same kind of Leela took place in the Yajnik Brahmans. We saw that drama during our drama festival, where Krishna and the Gopas were in the forest. And this was the day, I think it was the day that it was getting late. And they hadn't had their lunch for a long time. So Krishna understood the hearts of these Brahmins' wives, how they were so much longing for the darshan of Krishna. So Krishna told the Gopas were hungry. They said, Krishna, we're very hungry. Again, they were hungry because they knew that Krishna didn't eat all day. So Krishna said, oh yes, then you should go to these Brahmins. They are performing a yajna, a sacrifice. And at this particular time in the sacrifice, it's very auspicious for them to give food in charity. So the boys were really excited. They had a mission from Krishna. And Krishna, they went to the Brahmins, and the Brahmins were performing their mantras and their yantras and their tantras and their mudras and their pujas. And the boys were saying, we're hungry. Can you, oh, best Brahmins, we offer our pranams to you. You are like gods on earth. You are so much, merciful and kind and compassionate to all beings, and you're giving the transcendental knowledge to everyone. Well, we are very hungry, and Krishna and Balaram are very hungry, so please give us some food. We see so much food here. And you know what the Brahmans did? They did their mantras and their tantras and their yantras and their mudras and their pujas. They completely ignored the boys. Because after all, they're doing something very, very high. According to Vedas, they're chanting so many slokas and they're making all of these offerings. And these little cowherd boys, covered with dirt and smearing their bodies with all kinds of minerals and decorating themselves with leaves and feathers that they find on the ground. They totally ignored them. Now, it's one thing to be accepted, and it's another thing to be rejected, but to be completely ignored, that gives you no relevance whatsoever. Yes? At least if someone rejects you, they're giving you the significance enough to reject you. And if somebody accepts you, that means they're releasing some significance in you. But if they totally ignore you, as if you were invisible, as if you didn't even exist, it's very painful. So the boys, what was their pain? Their pain was not that their egos were crushed, because they have no egos. Their pain was they couldn't get any food for Krishna, and Krishna was hungry. They were pretending to be hungry just because they wanted Krishna to eat, and Krishna sent them on a mission, and they came back empty-handed. And they looked down and said, Krishna, they wouldn't give us anything. They wouldn't even look at us. They didn't even acknowledge that we existed. What kind of brahmans are they? They're supposed to be merciful to everyone. Krishna smiled. He was very happy. He said, that is the way of begging. When you take the role of a beggar, sometimes people give and sometimes people don't give. You can't be attached to either one. Krishna tells in Gita, we shouldn't be attached to success or failure, honor, dishonor, victory or defeat, happiness or distress. We should be attached to our seva, because nothing could interfere with the bhava, with the desire to please the Lord. What the results will be, that is unpredictable sometimes. But the sincerity of our effort, that is within our control. So Krishna said, go to the wives of these brahmans. They are simple ladies, but they have pure love for me. And the boys, well, how, if their husbands who are doing the whole yajna or controlling all the food and everything, if they're not allowing, how are their wives going to be able? Krishna said, go to them. They will do anything for me. So they ran and went to the wives and said, Krishna and Balaram are hungry. Do you have food? Ah, yes, of course we have food. And husbands are doing Om Swaha Swaha. And all of a sudden the wives come running by and start taking all the food. And the husband, where are you going? They didn't even bother to answer. They just left. And they said, you can't go, you can't, this is food, you can't do this. If you leave, you're not allowed to come back. They went. Sarvadharaman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshai samima suchaha. This is the culmination of Bhagavad Gita. That abandon all varieties of dharma and just surrender to me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. They had so much faith, that they were willing to abandon their homes, abandon their wealth, abandon everything, just to please Krishna. One time. And they went holding all these baskets in their arms and their heads. They were so many baskets and pots. They went deeper into the forest. They were anticipating so much. And Shukadeva Goswami tells in Srimad Bhagavatam, they had never seen Krishna before. They had never met Krishna. It's just that when they would go shopping in the little marketplaces, the Brajabasi ladies who were selling the milk and selling the fruits and selling the grains, they would always be talking about Krishna. Jive bibaswami tamate deva govinda damodara madhaveti. This beautiful prayer talks about whatever the gopis were doing, they were always singing the names and glories of Damodar, Krishna. So as they would go shopping, they would just overhear them talking to each other about Krishna, but they didn't talk. The Brahma Samhita tells that in Vrindavan, all speech is song, all walk is dance, all water is nectar, and the constant companion in everyone's heart is the sweet sound of Krishna's flute. So these gopis, whether they're harvesting fields, whether they're churning something, whether they're selling something, they're constantly singing the beautiful stories of Krishna. Our acharyas tell how when Krishna would go into the pastures during the day, when they would come home at the time of sunset, the gopas, all his friends, they would tell the gopis all the beautiful stories. They would tell their mothers and their fathers and everybody of what happened that day. And there were endless incidents that took place every day. Jiva Goswami explains, if someone had 10,000 mouths, how many would you like to have 10,000 mouths? Well, if someone were to have 10,000 mouths, even if the greatest of all poets and composers had 10,000 mouths, and with all those 10,000 mouths was to sing Krishna's glories for 10,000 years, he couldn't describe even what Krishna did in one day. That's inconceivable, but that's Krishna. What most people can't do in hundreds and thousands of years, Krishna could do in a day. Because you see, we are controlled by time. But Krishna's the controller of time. When he performed his Ras Leela with gopis at night, he extended one night into 3,420,000,000 years. Hare Krishna. Now, how can you put 3,420,000,000 years in 8 hours? That's Krishna. So they would come back from the pastures and they would say, Krishna did this, and at noon Krishna did this, and we played this game, and then Krishna said this, and Krishna smiled like this, and he told us this joke, and then we wrestled, and I beat Krishna. And the gopis would hear it with so much love that they would compose beautiful poetic songs about what they heard and what they would see when Krishna would come back. So they had unlimited, beautiful, beautiful bhajans that they would sing about Krishna. And as they were selling the fruits, they would be singing together. And these just by hearing about Krishna, these ladies, their hearts were completely captured. Total love for Krishna awakened in their hearts. And it was Vipralambha Bhava. They were yearning to meet Krishna. And Krishna knows everything, because he's in their hearts. So he told the Gopas, go and bring them. As soon as they had that opportunity, they surrendered everything. They were getting chastised, they were getting ostracized, they were getting forbidden, but they went anyway. And one lady, she was physically held back and she couldn't go. And in the fire of the separation from Krishna, her soul went to the spiritual world and her body just ended. And all the other ladies, they were thinking she's better than us. So they all went, and they're going through the forest. And their hearts are beating with anticipation, pounding with anticipation. They heard so many descriptions of Krishna's beautiful form, and they were about to meet him. And they came to a little clearing, and there was Lord Gopal. He had his arm on the shoulder of one of his friends. He had his flute, and he had beautiful flowers decorating his ears, hanging from his ears, and a peacock feather on his hair. His complexion was like a newly formed monsoon rain cloud. His eyes were like large, beautiful, shining lotus petals. His nose like the sweet sesame flower. His lips were like freshly cut bimba fruit. His teeth like rows of pearls. He had a beautiful golden garment that over his shoulder and his dhoti, it looked like the flashing of lightning. And he had a lotus flower in his hand, and he was twirling it and smiling. When these ladies saw this darshan of Krishna, tears poured from their eyes as offerings of love, and they offered their body, their mind, their words, their hearts, their souls to Krishna. What could they speak? And Krishna looked at them with such happiness and welcomed them. He said, "Welcome, O ladies. I am so happy you have come. Now you have seen the beauty of this nice forest. And because you have forsaken everything and taken such risks just to please me, I am completely satisfied. Your love has conquered my heart. But you have duties at home to your family, so you should return home." This was the last thing they wanted to hear. They said, "Krishna, don't be so cruel. Don't send us home. We've abandoned everything just to be with you, and now you want to send us home? We have no other duty except to please you and to serve you." The Bhagavatam says if you water the root of a tree, then naturally that our love, if you water the root of the tree, the water goes to every part of the tree to nourish it. So similarly, when we serve Krishna with love, our love extends to every living being. But this is an interesting scientific analysis from a bhakti perspective. Because when you water the root of the tree, does the root keep all the water for itself? It's not that the root just, okay, I have all the water, so every
branch and every leaf and every twig and everyone else, you be happy because I have all the water. Does the root do that? The root's nature is when it gets the water, it actually shares that water with every part of the tree. It sends the water to every part of the tree. So Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal. When you offer your love to Krishna, Krishna shares his love. He shares our love with everyone. In this way, the ladies, the brahmans' wives, they were giving nice philosophical explanations to Krishna. They were kind of teaching Krishna the Bhagavad Gita. How can you send us home now? We've already abandoned everything for you, and by satisfying you, our husbands, our children, and all of our duties, everything is fulfilled if we make you happy, Krishna. Krishna said, yes, that's true. But what will satisfy me is if you go home. And then he told them that it's not just you will not attain love for me just by my physical proximity. It's by physically being with me. That is not the optimum way of awakening love for me. But by hearing about me, by chanting my names, by chanting my glories and the association with one another, that is how true love, in separation, hearing and chanting my glories and always remembering me and making the offerings of your heart to me, that is the most profound way of awakening true love for me. And this is what I am giving you. So they gave Krishna all the prasad, and then they returned. And when they returned, they found out about this one lady who died in the fire of separation because she was physically held back. And they were thinking how fortunate she is. Because in dying, her immortal soul went to enter into Krishna's leelas forever. And we have to do all this stuff for Krishna. With joy. And the husbands, when they saw the effulgence of their wives, the ecstatic love of them, they were overwhelmed. And they began to condemn themselves. That just see, we were so engrossed in these rituals, and the whole purpose of the ritual is to please God. The whole purpose of learning Sanskrit and studying and reciting verses is to please God. The whole purpose of all the mantras and the tantras and the yantras and the mudras and the pujas and everything else is to please the Lord. And we have perfected the external form of the rituals. We have perfected our pronunciation of Sanskrit hymns and prayers. We have perfected the art of doing the yajna. Samsiddhir haridoshanam. But the purpose to please Krishna is the only thing. And Krishna asked us to please him, and we were so absorbed in doing things to please him that we didn't please him. Does that make sense? That's basically the situation of most religious people today in the world, of all religions, including our own. It's one of the trappings of Maya. We forget the purpose. We get so absorbed in doing that we think the thing itself is the purpose. It's like Rupa Goswami tells, if you're worshiping the deity, and somebody comes into the temple who really needs your help, then it's your duty to stop the deity worship and help that person. Because that's what Krishna wants. But if we're so absorbed in it, I want to please you, Krishna, I want to please you. Well, this is how you please me. No, I want to please you. We could learn hundreds of verses, thousands of verses, and chant them beautifully. Kirtan. Yagyai sankirtana praya yajanti hi sumedasa. In this age of Kali, those who have the best intelligence will take shelter of this sankirtan. Kalera dosanide rajanasti heko mahan guna kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha